Back on this Sunday morning Inside Tennessee, a conversation with two Democrats representing Knoxville in the State House. Representative Johnson, I promised you the floor about the special session tied to education. What should be the focus? We heard from Representative McKenzie. What say you?
Well, I agree with Representative McKenzie that we should see an increase for our teachers. I'd like to go higher than 4%. But the thing that's frustrating me so far from what I've seen, there's no consequential increase in the education funding. Bills are written in special session. So look for the Democrats to have amendments to those bills because there is not a consequential increase in the current bill that is out there. I definitely support a lot of the things that we're doing. I am concerned that everyone couches this as learning loss, and learning loss is not an educational phrase, it's a political phrase. And the reality is, if you did long division when you were in elementary school, you probably haven't done it in a long time, but you could sit down and do it if you wanted. And so once you've learned something, you don't lose it. You might need a reminder. There's actually no way to test this. So the real problem that we're seeing is what the pandemic has shown us were the problems when we weren't fully funding our education system as it is. Our own state's TASER study showed that locals are paying $1.7 billion in education funding that should be paid by the state because our BP no longer covers those folks. And so the reality is our teachers are still making less than they made 20 years ago based on cost of living. We don't have enough school nurses and social workers, those kinds of folks, to handle the things. We need to address that. I do believe holding our teachers and our students in our schools, I don't think we should be grading schools. I think we should hold those all harmless. But I think that also we should just put a stay on where the testing so far. Don't worry about completing teacher evaluations. And I think that we should be testing under these circumstances with our high-stakes standardized tests. We can do the ones that teachers do normally throughout the year, 3 times throughout the year, gives us a lot of the same results, only better. And we shouldn't put that huge focus on trying to navigate how we're going to get a test half online, half offline. But my concern is so far in the bills that we have seen from Governor Lee, there is no significant new spending in education, and that is frustrating to me. So, as Sam said, if we want to get that 4%, we're going to have to really push. The Democrats are really going to have to push for that.
And I want to get to children's literacy because that may be an issue that we see more common ground on among Democrats and Republicans in this issue. Representative Johnson, you have a background in teaching. We talk about learning to read until 3rd grade, then after 3rd grade, reading to learn. And about maybe 1/3 of Tennessee students on the whole are reading at grade level at 3rd grade, if my numbers are correct. What could the state do to improve that?
Well, those are the numbers that we all know and that we all hear. They're not exactly correct because of the NEET test that we give and what their scores actually mean. That's not actually a great reading level. Below proficient is actually more of a reading level on the NEET test, and proficient on the NEET test is typically more of I can use the language on grade level, I can write it, I can using the language completely and correctly. So it's a little better than that, but we still have a lot of work to do. However, the literacy program that the state is pushing is a one-size-fits-all type program that is call and response. It works for some kids, but it doesn't work for every kid. And what folks need to realize is we all learn to read differently. Phonics is hugely important. There's no doubt about that. But just pushing one way and trying to get all folks to read one way, I think is going to cause some problems and not get us where we want to get. We definitely have to prove, and that goes back to no one's losing reading. It's not a learning loss. What we have is a funding failure in Tennessee schools and not investing in our kids' education.
Representative McKenzie, where do you see any common ground in that issue early childhood literacy?
Well, it's not a rural or an urban issue. It's a statewide issue. 1 in 3 kids, whether that's plus or minus 5%, that's a horribly low percentage. So, in terms of representatives, we need to do what's best for our children. If it takes more money, we need to step up to the plate, belly up to the bar, whatever, and fund our educational systems appropriately. The truth in advertising pushed back a few years ago, and we need to get back to that. I think once we make sure our parents know, our grandparents know that our children need help, and we have the means and the mechanisms to help them do better, to be lifelong learners, starting at elementary, then the conversation's easy. If it becomes polarized and political, we're just going to spin our wheels. If we can agree that we need help and that funding is a large portion of that, hopefully we'll have a good session this year and a good special session start next week.
We're going to come back and talk about the economy on this Sunday morning on Inside Tennessee. Stay with us.